Good morning. This week we are going to be discussing the novel The Caretaker. This novel is a horror novel in theory. I'm going to probably make a couple people very angry on this because this novel is supposed to be the scariest novel of the year, and I didn't think it was at all scary. But let's first start out with the plot. The plot is about a character, Macy Mullins. She recently lost her father about 3 years before this started. She's really not doing well in life. She's broke. She has no job. She's having trouble paying the rent, and she's looking after her younger sister. She needs this. She needs a job, and she finally runs across on Craigslist a job for a caretaker. She goes to the interview. It's in a ancient, it's like, well, not ancient, but it's in a creepy large house in an upscale neighborhood. And the woman that's there explains that her husband died about 6 months before that. And that the job really isn't for a caretaker, it's really for a house sitter. And really what she wants is just a somebody to look after the house when she as she leaves for about 3 days. She wants to go visit her son in Florida. Macy can't really say no because the woman offers her a total of $9,000 for about 3 days worth of work, which is sketchy beyond belief, and obviously Macy's sister says so. The woman sends her home with a videotape that explains the rules that she would have to follow while she's at the house. It turns out that the man that died was somewhat strange. He has certain things he calls rights. And they're very simple rules. For example, between the hours of 3 a.m. to 4 a.m., the caretaker has to wander around the house, and if any lights turn on, they must be turned off within 3 minutes. The other one is if a person comes to the door and has pale blue eyes, don't open the door, don't let them see you, don't respond, wait for them to go away. And the third one is if a rabbit gets into the house, the rabbit must be removed from the house within 10 minutes. Rather weird rules, but they're relatively simple rules. I mean, come on, keeping lights turned off for an hour in the morning, you wake up a little bit early, you wander around for an hour, turn off the lights. Don't make, if somebody comes to the door, just don't answer it. And if a rabbit gets in, get it out of the house. Simple. So she accepts the job. And as she goes to the house, and the elderly woman leaves, she on the first day she tries to follow the rules. She wakes up at about a quarter to 3, and then from 3 to 4 she wanders around, turns out the lights. Problem is, she ignores one light that's just 7 seconds over the 3 minute time limit. So she has to do the follow-up right. The follow-up right is very simple. What will happen is she will suffer a moderate setback in her life. Not really a problem. Unfortunately for her, the moderate setback turns out to be a very bad thing where her father's insurance won't pay, so she's even further in the monetary hole. She can't leave after that because she definitely needs that $9,000 then. Okay. Trouble is, the next day, she sees a rabbit in the house. And obviously, rabbits aren't exactly easily able to be called to you, so she goes a little bit over the time limit of that. She discovers that the problem is that when you do that, you're going to suffer a devastating setback unless she burns the rabbit alive. Obviously, nobody wants to burn a rabbit alive. So she just lets the rabbit go, which prompts a phone call from a unnamed source explaining that unless she follows the next fallback right, the devastating loss will happen and a what's called a red sun will rise the next morning. Things spiral from there. I'm not going to say how it ends. Go ahead and read the book. It's not very long. It's 250 pages. And an escalating series of mistakes comes about. So what is this book actually about? The book tries to be about the mental illness of obsessive compulsive behavior. The idea being that the rights are so nonsensical that they have to be the product of a slightly, abnormal mindset. That and I once we get to my review, I'll explain why the book isn't about that. But that's what the book really wants to be about. It wants to question whether these behaviors are actually doing what they say they're doing, which is postponing the end of the world or not, or if they're just nonsensical behaviors. That's about all this book is wanted. There is a little bit of a touch upon the different economic stratas of how sometimes the rich will foist off their burdens to the poor just for money. And I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of that, but didn't really appear too much in it. But let's go into my actual review because I have a lot to say about that. This book is not very good. I did not enjoy this book one iota. I would have, and I don't like to do this. I don't like to rewrite the book because I like to just talk about the book as it is. But there are times when I'm sitting there thinking to myself, a couple editing choices could make a book a lot better. And this book would have been made a lot better if the first scene in the book had simply been deleted. Because what this book really wants to do is it really wants to question, are these rights actually needed, or are these rights just the product of OCD? And with the presence of that first scene, basically everything that you might question, you don't question because you've already been shown that everything that's said in the book actually is real and that it's actually is paranormal in essence. And I don't like that because, like I said, if I had been editing this book, I would have probably deleted the first 3 or 4 pages and said, take these out. The rest of this works a lot better and it's a lot more scary without that. But with that, first scene, it completely deflates any of the possible questions that come after it. And so I was talking about this book to somebody else. It's kind of like the difference between in the movie The Shining versus the book The Shining. I actually prefer the movie because the movie keeps it very ambiguous whether the ghosts are real or just the product of a family going crazy. And the book basically says, yep, it's ghosts. And I feel the book deflates a lot of the tension that the movie builds up much better. Same here. That first scene deflates all the possible tension that this book could possibly have built up over the course of its story time. And so I have to say, this book is not a recommend by me. I did not like the book. I like the main character. Macy Mullins is a really good character. She's constantly filled with self doubt. She loathes herself. She feels she's a failure. And I think that that was a really good character that a really good book could be based on. This is not the book, though, unfortunately. Um, and I just felt like the editing really let this down. I know a lot of other reviewers have said that this is a really great book. I did not like this. This is not a recommended read by me. This and I mean the worst part about it is that at one point Macy Mullins goes through a certain level of character growth. She learns to accept the death of her father. That maybe she can overcome one of the things that she really hadn't done since her father died. And then the book immediately starts to basically punish her for that. And I do agree. In real life, we often get punished for character growth, and we don't have plot armor just because we've grown a bit. Here's the thing, though: books are not real life. Books are supposed to, like, at least books like this are supposed to have a narrative structure to them that allow them to show growth and end at a different place than where they started. And in this book, Macy is definitely punished for that character growth. So I can't recommend this book. I'm sorry. I really did not like it. It's really not worth reading. Um, I guess pick it up if you want to see what everybody's talking about, but I don't think it's worth, full price. Check it out from the library or something, But that's just my take on it. Have a great day. Stay positive. Bye bye.